Hi, I'm Corolla, and on Instagram I'm at FromCorolla. In this video, I'm going to chat about my planners and journal lineups for Q1 and do a review of what I used, what worked, what didn't work, and some changes that I've made going into Q2. So join me as I chat and let's dive in. So in Q1, these were basically my main 5 planners and journals or books. And I also had occasional books that I used, but I'll talk about them after I talk about these main ones. So my everyday carry, or basically everything that goes into my planner, was the Sterling Ink N2 Vertical. And it was the full planner, so there were enough pages to do daily planning if I wanted to. The monthly view I used basically for events and appointments, schedules, birthdays, things like that. And then in the weekly view, which is the vertical setup, I basically used it as my scheduler, so that worked really well. Putting in the hours that my kids were going to be in school, as well as some of the programs that they were part of, and holidays, things that sort of were happening. And that I really enjoyed having an overview of the week, so that really worked for me, as well as having a weekly log or weekly setup. Similar to probably how I use the Hobonichi Weeks, in terms of having an Alistair method of, jotting down the tasks that I had to do during the week and marking down which day of the week I planned on doing it. And then if I completed the task, I would put an X. If I didn't complete it, then I would put an arrow. And then I would move that task over to the following week, which was, the next couple of pages. So I used 2 pages per week. Instead of doing daily planning, which initially that was my plan for this book because there's so many pages. But the way I ended up using it was for a weekly log. And that was how I used my Sterling Ink weekly planner. But I did take a couple of weeks off from this planner just to experiment with the Hobonichi Weeks because I was thinking that it was either the Weeks or the Sterling Ink planner that would be my weekly planner, and I kind of waffled back and forth a little bit. So I'll show you how I kind of used the Weeks in conjunction with the Sterling Ink planner. In the monthly, I did the same thing. I put in schedule or events, appointments, and holidays. Initially, I thought maybe I would use this as a project manager book, but I did kind of experiment with it. So I ended up using it similar to how I use the Sterling Ink weekly, just to see whether I preferred having the weekly schedule as well as the weekly tasks on 2 pages, so I could see quickly what the schedule was and then what my tasks were. And then similar to the Sterling Ink, I used the Alistair method, and I just noted down when I wanted to complete a task and whether or not I did, and if it moved to the next week. And I have to say that after using the Weeks for a couple of weeks, I actually really enjoyed it, but I found that I sometimes ran out of space here. So then I kind of, had to figure out whether I would use the notes pages in the back to continue the list. And I think that would have sort of worked, but, then you're sort of flipping back and forth. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that. So I think where I don't have a lot of tasks in a week, then, this book is perfect for what I wanted, because I did like seeing the schedule on one side and then my tasks on the other. But the freedom of being able to use more than one page really attracted me to using the Sterling Ink more regularly. So if I used this page, I would just continue on to the next page. And then if I didn't, I sort of noted down ideas and thoughts that I had during the week just to remember, as it came to mind. So I would note it down. And then just, having so many pages here to use for notes and whatever else, I really appreciated having that much space. So yeah, I kind of experimented between the two and the Weeks and Sterling ink. And, I kind of enjoyed using both of them, but I did stick to one. So I'll talk a little bit more about what I'm using in Q2 after I go through all the books. And if you want to know a little bit more about the covers that I'm using, I'll have all that information in the description. So take a look if you're interested. So those are the two books that I used in Q1 and sort of experimented with. The other book that I picked up probably in January during a sale was the Hobonichi A6 Hon. So I really loved this cover, and I considered using it, but then I didn't ended up getting it for the beginning of the year. But then I saw it on sale, and then I decided to pick it up. So I'm using the Hobonichi A6 Hon in conjunction with the Sterling Ink Weekly. So as I mentioned, I started using, not the weekly, the N2. So as I mentioned, I started using the Sterling Ink N2 more of a weekly planner, and I used the Hobonichi A6 more as like a daily planner. So the way I use this, the yearly index, was for currently reading, basically. And that would sort of, keep me on schedule in terms of how many books I had and my goal of reading. And the monthly I used, similar to the Sterling Ink N2, I just noted down events, and holidays, and this is basically the key that I used. And but also I used it for tracking my Happy Mail. So when I ordered, especially stationery, when I ordered something, I would note it down, and then I would track when it was shipped and when I received it. So that's how I use the monthly view. And then the daily view, or the daily pages, how I used them basically was at the top I would put my priorities, and then use the schedule here for daily appointments. And then I jotted down highlights from the day. So as the day sort of progressed, I would keep this open on my desk and just jot down quickly highlights from the day. And those highlights I would use for memory planning and for journaling later, and basically just to remember what happened so that I could easily refer back to these pages and know what occurred during that day. So that's how I use the Hobonichi A6 Hon. And this planner, along with the Sterling Ink, these were my just like carries. So I would use these two the most frequently throughout the day. And then I started using the Hobonichi A5 5-year diary. This was the first year that I started using it. And this is meant to be my archive. And so the way that I used it is basically just noting down the highlights of the day. And not so much journaling about my thoughts around it, but more so what actually happened, so that I can always refer back to these pages and know, the events that occurred during the day, or if we traveled somewhere, then I would jot down where we went and all those details that are great for an archive and that are useful to look back on. So I didn't initially want to include photos because I obviously don't want to bulk up this book too much, but there are a few days where, big events occurred or things that were meaningful and that I want to keep documented for future years. So then I used a photo printer, and I printed a couple of photos and I put them in the book. And then my last everyday sort of main book is the Sterling Ink N1, and it's the compact vertical book. So it's not as big as the N2, which had basically pages for every single day. And the purpose of this book was to use it as a memory keeper. So I kept it in my TN cover along with a sticker book or a sticker refill sticker insert. And I put in stickers that I would use consistently. And this was meant to be my memory keeper. So basically the way I used it is the monthly I just put down, you know, things that I posted on social just so I would remember. And then the weekly I noted down weekly highlights and, you know, when I traveled or went on a trip or just, you know, fun things that happened. And this was my space to use as many stickers as I wanted because I love the kawaii theme, and I love the Coffee Monsters stickers. So this is sort of where I use those stickers and do some hand lettering. And, you know, I would do this on a weekly basis, usually on a Saturday or Sunday. I would open up my book and take out my Hobonichi Hon and just look at, you know, what happened during that week and sticker away and write, you know, little highlights and thoughts around that. So I love memory keeping and I love stickering. So this was sort of my place to do that. So these are my main 5 books, and these are my occasional books. And there are 5 of them, so we'll go through them. I wanted to test out the Sterling Ink Passport size common planner. It's a compact version, and basically I wanted to just experiment with a passport size and see if I could use a passport for planning or journaling, and also because it's so cute and small. So that's why I got it. It's not very interesting. It's kind of boring actually, but how I used it was just to track health and fitness. So that's what I used the yearly index for. And then the weekly, I just, you know, if I went for a hike or a walk or something like that, I noted down how long the walk was. So that's kind of a boring way to use it, but you know, I paired it with a pocket vintage fountain pen. So it's just kind of a cute thing that I update probably on a weekly basis. So it's not really like a daily book for me, but it was kind of an experiment. So I had fun with that. And then I also used the Plotter Mini. So this is a Mini 6, and this was great for travel. So I could just like throw it into my bag. And I had the monthly inserts as well as the weekly inserts. And basically when I traveled, I would just throw in the weekly pages for that week and note down like things I had to do and probably highlights from the trip, you know, just things to remember. And then I made these little folders using the Coffee Monsters Co. vellum paper, and I put down, I inserted pages just for notes and things that I had to remember on the trip. And then I had these little dividers put in as well. And yeah, I really enjoyed having this with me when I was traveling because it's very compact and I can choose which pages to put into it. So I'm not carrying like a heavy planner or a heavy journal with me. And it was very useful and portable to have. And then for creative journaling and collaging, I have the TN Traveler's Notebook. And then I use the, I think it's a Tomoe River paper insert. I forget what number it is, but I use this mostly for collage journaling. So, you know, stickering, when I traveled, especially when I went to the California Pen Show, for example, cards and stickers that I got at the show, I threw it into here. And I really enjoy just, writing about my experiences and having a space to, throw in postcards and stickers and stuff like that, and not worry too much about bulking it up, because I still have a few pages to go, and I don't mind if it's going to be a little bit bulky. And then when I'm done, I'll just grab another refill and throw it in here. I used it also with a sticker release paper insert and threw in some stickers and cut out some washi tape and things like that. So when I traveled, I carried this with me as well as the plotter, and these two sort of kept me organized as well as gave me a space to be creative when I wanted to. So I really enjoyed using those two together. And then my fourth book, it's my third year in the Hobonichi 5-year diary in the A6 size. And the way that I've used this to date is pretty much for gratitude, or more specifically for this year, today's little joys. So just noting down little moments of joy throughout the day that I really appreciated. And then I used the right-hand side to practice my drawing using a glass dip pen and fountain pen ink. And I really enjoy seeing, like, year over year my drawings change a little bit, and seeing the progress that my art has made. Lastly, I don't really talk about this planner too much because it's very straightforward. I use it simply for family planning. This is where my husband would probably go if he wanted to see what we were doing that week or what was happening. It's the Hemlock and Oak Weekly Undated. So when I'm using it, or when, I need to jot down things for a week, I just date it. At the top, I use this for holidays, school schedules for my kids, and then any appointments that any of us have. And then my kids sometimes write in it, so that's really cute. And I'd love to keep this book and then look back on it and see the things that we did during the day in terms of appointments and stuff, but also cute little additions from my kids in these books. So that's how I use the Hemlock and Oak, and I'm still using it that way. So I'll just date, the future weeks as I go, and it's very straightforward. I don't really, there isn't a ton that happens during the week, but it's kind of nice to have this open in the living room, and my husband can refer to it. I can look at it really quickly and know what, is happening that week for the kids and stuff like that. So that's how I'm using the Hemlock and Oak. So now we'll talk about Q2 and some of the changes that I've made, or sort of, what worked and what worked and what I'm going to keep using. So for Q2, I'm going to continue using the Hemlock and Oak, of course, as my family planner. I'm also going to keep using the Traveler's Notebook insert until it's complete, and then I'll add in a new insert. I'll keep using the Hobonichi 5-year for little joys and for drawing practice, because I really like using it. So the plotter I'll keep using for travel planning, when we do road trips and things like that. And the Sterling ink passport I'll keep using to track my health and fitness. And this is sort of an experiment for me for 2024. So we'll see how it goes in the next quarter. So basically the only changes that I'll make in Q2 are with the Hobonichi Hon and the Hobonichi Weeks. So I'm going to continue using the Sterling ink N2 vertical as my sort of weekly planner and overview. So all of my tasks will go into the weekly log. And then I will still jot down my daily priorities and tasks in here. Instead of the daily highlights, I'm going to use a more of a journal. So I'm going to do some daily journaling in here. There isn't a lot of space, so that's kind of interesting. It's an experiment to see if this is basically enough space for me to do daily journaling. And the Hobonichi Weeks, I'm using it in Q2 as a highlights reel. So using the weekly view to jot down highlights, and then using this sort of as a reference for my memory keeper. So instead of experimenting with the weeks as a weekly planner, I've decided to use it more of a weekly highlights book. So this will stay open on my desk, and throughout the day when things happen that I want to journal about later or use in my memory keeper, I'll put it in the weeks, and then I'll use it as a reference for my memory keeper, which I'm going to continue using, and then also my 5-year archive. And that's basically it. Nothing exciting or nothing too exciting. And I haven't really added any new books yet. So, stay tuned, but because a lot of things can happen in Q2, that's usually when I start getting a little bit bored of my lineup sometimes. So I like to change things up using the books that I have and try and stay interested that way. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Carola on Instagram. I'm @FromCarola. Let me know what you're using in Q2 in terms of planners and journals, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!